In 1667, the English poet John Milton wrote Paradise Lost. This epic poem contains 60,000 words, about the same size as your average novel. Now, can you imagine memorizing every single word of this? You would either have to be crazy or a genius, but you would definitely need a young mind. Or would you? Let me tell you about John Basinger. John Basinger is 67, and not only did he memorize Paradise Lost, but he performed it from memory in public for 8 hours a day for 3 consecutive days. And he is living evidence that age doesn't matter. Unless you're a cheese. How many of you believe that there comes a day when you are too old to learn a language? The bad news is that a majority of people believe that this is true. But the good news is that it is absolutely not true. But where did this idea come from? Throughout human history, the mind, and especially the memory, has held special importance. Ancient civilizations even had gods of memory. The Egyptians had Thoth, and the Greeks had Mnemosyne. But the modern view of memory and old age really started with Aristotle and his writing on memory and reminiscence. In this text, Aristotle compares human memory to the hot wax used to seal an envelope. He says that in old age, the brain is like the wax when it's cold. It's impossible to make new memories, to make new impressions. And this view of memory and old age has persisted until today. And when we talk about this in regards to learning languages, it's called the critical period hypothesis. The critical period hypothesis is what most people believe, that after a certain age, the wax becomes dry. It's impossible to learn new things. But the scientific research tells us that this is absolutely not true. In 2003, scientists from Stanford University released the paper Critical Evidence. In this paper, they analyzed data from 2.3 million migrants living in America. And this was their conclusion. We tested the critical period hypothesis, and we found no evidence of such a discontinuity in language learning potential. Study after study tells us that your ability to learn a language does not suddenly disappear with age. So, what's going on here? Why do so many people feel like they can't learn a language as they get older? The reason is confidence. In 2015, Dana Turon from the University of North Carolina performed a simple experiment. She gave groups of old people and young people lists of words, and she asked them to find the differences between the lists. And as you can see, the groups of older people and young people performed equally well. They got the correct answers almost 100% of the time. The shocking thing is the difference in how they did the test. Young people trusted their brain, trusted their memory. They would look at the list and they would say, okay, I see the difference. They would hold the information in their minds. But older people didn't. Only 50% of older people trusted their own brains, and the other 50% used external memory aids like rulers and pencils. And they would painstakingly draw lines between the words to see which ones were different. They didn't trust their own capabilities. But the thing is that those older people and those younger people had exactly the same ability to remember things and to hold that information in their mind. The only difference was confidence in those abilities. And the moment that you stop trusting your abilities, you enter a vicious cycle. You don't trust your abilities, so you don't use your abilities, so you lose your abilities. I want you to realize something, that this moment is the oldest that you have ever been. But this moment is also the youngest that you will ever be again. And when you believe that you can't do something because of your age, then you are denying a future to not only yourself, but you are denying a future to everybody else on this planet, because none of us can escape aging. I want you to realize that although maybe your confidence has diminished, your abilities have not. And you have just as much ability to learn English as anybody else of any age. And from today onwards, I want you to live by the words of Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night, but rage, rage against the dying of the light. I'm Christian, this is Canguro English. I'll see you in class.